and welcome to another episode, actually another season of the Groundswell Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Martin, and today is my first solo episode. I did the whole season last year without doing a solo episode, and I thought that this would be a really great time for me to kick off the season, maybe just sort of brush back some memories from last season and really sort of set the stage what the season could bring going forward. And, maybe first and foremost, I'd like to just first thank you. You've been listening to my podcast, and hopefully this isn't the first episode, but if it is, that's great. I really appreciate you tuning in. I really want to thank those people that have gone through my content and listened to those and given me their feedback and messaged, liked, reviewed, and all that kind of activity. It means so much to me. So first, thank you. This is why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for you. I really want to help entrepreneurs see their dreams come true and help marketers transform their businesses to be sustainable growth marketers and to build their own groundswell. And I think that businesses that are aiming to do good in the world and make a big difference, this podcast is for you. And I think that some of the guests that we've had on over the past year, I launched it March 11 last year. And, I had Bruce Kasanoff kick it off, which is Humans, Not Customers. And that transformed the language and the thinking. And in fact, that really shaped a lot of my book, to be honest with you. And all the podcast guests have shaped and had their fingerprint in my book in some way, shape, or form. So the second big shout out and thank you is I want to thank all the guests. Thank you for investing an hour of your time and sharing with our audience your insights, your reviews, putting up with some of my quick questions. I hope you guys like the format. With these guests, they get asked to a lot of podcasts and different things, and I feel like for the most part, most of the podcasts do an in-depth backstory, and I'd love to hear if you go to groundswell.fm and post me an audio review or a comment. Is I don't tend to do a lot in their backstory, and I tend to just paddle in and just jump right into it. And my intent there is, I guess I'm doing this podcast from this point of deep curiosity, and I have so much respect for these guests that I'm scratching my own itch. I'm actually asking the questions that I want to ask. I'm wanting to just get to the heart of a consistent discussion around sustainable ideas and meaningful engagement with your customers, your audience, and how to make impact in the world. And so those are kind of where I sort of frame my questions around, and hopefully that's working for you. For me, I learned so much on every episode, and I've had some repeat guests come on: Joe Pine, Don Peppers, Jay Baer, and soon Jeremy Miller. He's going to be coming on season 2. So, I've got such a great cast of characters that I've been so fortunate to have as my guests, and I'm looking at actually bringing back some other guests that were just exceptional, and then some of the lineup this year is just really exciting. So, I look at the first year of Groundswell Marketing as just sort of introducing the idea around sustainable thinking and really looking at marketing from a deeper, different perspective. And season 2, I was going to launch. I actually was literally had the microphone. I had the whole thing set up, and I'll be honest, I just didn't pull the trigger. It was March 11th. It was my birthday. And there's so much change happening that I just didn't feel that I had a bearing. And I didn't feel that at that moment, I felt like, hey, now's the time to really talk about, marketing your business, because it just felt like people didn't know what was happening. And in the past month, it's been just an incredible, just amount of change. And there's so many businesses that have been affected. And, I think that's where I want to kick off this sort of, explanation about, season 1. It was really just like a first view of just like really intelligent angles of different people's perspectives around how you build, give, grow, and transform your audiences and to build a groundswell. Season 2, having thought about it, and actually, I now more than ever, a couple of the ones that I've already recorded pre-COVID, they're totally good. Like they're like in line. But I even noticed now, like with the tone, like I'm writing my book, and the tone that I started the book was a little bit like Chicken Little. I was going, hey, you guys really need to be thinking about being sustainable, diversifying the way that you get leads and looking at it as an ecosystem and stuff. And it was a little bit more in your face, like Chicken Little going, the sky is falling, and the sky fell. And so I've had to relook and rewrite and rethink about what this season 2 could really embody. And to me, it's empathy, but not to the point of sympathy where it's commiserating. It's empathy to understand the situation with emotional intelligence, but to move ahead in a strategic way and to be for those people who are the fighters, the gladiators, the marketers that are wanting to do more, not just to survive. They want to absolutely grow because their business has to grow. Anyone that's listening to this that has a talent, a business that's making a difference in the human race, in making the lives better, saving them money, saving them time, transforming their lives, you have an obligation to get your word out there. And so I want my podcast to be part of that. I want that to be the fuel to your fire to help you accelerate your dreams and your goals and your activities. So I look at season 2 and kicking off with Bruce Kasanoff. It was just very much, me, trying to probe with Bruce on different ideas of the future. And he just summed it up in the title, which is Be Human. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've now today decided to pick up the recorder and kick off this recording for season 2 is sure, empathy, that's the tone. That's certainly an important aspect. But what has happened is 2 tectonic plates have shifted and moved in together and created an earthquake. And this earthquake is something that was already happening, was going to happen. It was evolving, but just pushed it forward. Pressure from both sides has pushed this to where now I believe we're in a completely different world for marketing. A lot of strategies, not all, a lot of strategies, I believe that pre-COVID will not work post-COVID. And I think that this is part of the economic factors, but I think it has more to do with human factors. And I've been just watching, reading, and just feeling and paying attention to this. And just tell me if this feels right. Like right now during COVID, like we're not at post-COVID yet, is if you see somebody sort of flaunting, their success or, like an influencer type that's just like, hey, look at me. There's some sort of like new reaction I have. And I think I'm not alone. It's like this visceral reaction of like, how dare you? Or this feels fake. And on the opposite spectrum, when I see people who genuinely like going, here's some ways to really stay healthy at home or whatever, I really am gravitating towards that because it's really intending to really help people and make their lives better. And I think that that's where we're going. I think that there's a shift in consumer behavior. And I wrote some notes here. And it's really down to 3 things: helping people make their lives better or save them time. It's helping them be safe with their business, their families, with their thinking, their marketing. It's like, it's tempered. It's not blast up, 10x this, do that, like take risks. It's the opposite of that. It's actually, let's make some really smart, safe bets. And the last is trust. And this is the currency, these 2 tectonic plates that have come together to create this moment, which is, I think we've been in this audience currency, this audience economy where look at, the President of the United States to influencers. It's about views. It's about ratings. It's about attention. I believe that the shift just happened, and it came down to, what I've been writing about my book, which is, I think trust is the final iteration of where this next shift is going, which is, I think people are going to only gravitate towards brands, businesses, and that enable deep trust. And for you have to earn it. Trust isn't bought. You you can buy attention. You can't buy trust. You have to create it, earn it, and deliver on it. And it can run through your fingers. You can lose it quick. So that means you have to really be always in sort of like this imbalance and sort of like you can't rest on your laurels. It's not once and done. I think that's one thing that marketers were doing before with automation. So focused on once and done, and I'm going to just market and forget about it. And if I set up these funnels, these systems, these automations, the leads will just come in like a factory line or something like that. That is very non-human. In fact, that's where I think you're going to still see that. I don't think that's going to change. However, I do think there's a fracturing with these two, audience and trust, that there's two different type of values. I think consumers, humans, whatever you want to refer them to as, they are now buying or buying in. They're either buying on price or they're buying in on values, but both are buying values. One values price, savings, and the other values something exceptional. That they value something congruent. They value something with purpose or substance, and it could be design. It could be, your mission. It could be your impact. It could mean, your a portion of what you do is aligned with some values I have. I want to be, supporting something that's about recycling or whatever. So, to me, I think this is the camp that we're in, is the rise of trust. And I think it's a great thing, quite honestly, because I think there's some mistrust with, fake news, ratings. Ratings were kind of like a barometer, but even then you don't trust them because you don't know, well, do they buy those reviews on Amazon? Or, like Rotten Tomatoes, I've seen some reviews and I'm like, it ended up being a great movie, or the opposite. So I don't trust them. But when Jill tells me a movie, she knows my trust. She knows my preferences. She knows me intimately, what I value, what I like. And when she makes a recommendation, I trust it. And I think that's where we're moving toward is, and trust has this ability. When you've earned somebody's trust, you've earned something else. It's not transactional. It's you've superseded a motivation to share what you love about that business. Like sometimes there's an affiliate programs. I'm not knocking those, but I'm just like, that's a transaction. But when you truly trust somebody, and then someone who needs a recommendation and you trust them, if you don't trust them, you may or may not say something. And you might even caveat going, yeah, I've used them, but, I don't know if I trust them, whatever. But when you trust them, you're going, hey, these guys are great. I totally put my name to it. When somebody does that at a human level, it just up levels your, the phases of buying, which is really awareness, consideration, comparison, and commitment. And you can just go right to, I'm going to make a commitment because if they're good for you, they're good for me, sort of thing. And I think that only is going to happen on a human-to-human level, like on a one-to-one basis. And I think that is where we're going. It's this human-to-human communications. The two camps are, one will be still valuing human-to-human. They both will value trust. That is the age we're in. And some people will still be aiming for audience attention. But I think as a general whole, the feeling is the sentiment, the cultural shift that we're just embarking on is we're moving away from that and toward trust. And I think that's great. Frankly, I couldn't be more happy about that. I mean, to me, that's like what it does is it removes the nonsense, noise, pollution, marketing that has plagued the name marketers. I mean, marketers, you look it up, and I think one of the, in Google or something, I think one of the first references, all marketers are liars, Well, it's for good reason, because there's so many people out there just you thinking marketing is a way to manipulate people, right? Or browbeat with audience, how many views or what I can buy just to get in front of them. And it's just like, let's just get in front of them. We just need to sell. It's just like you're divorced from the impact on their lives. But businesses that go, hey, this is intended to make their lives better. Like, we missed the mark. And you're empathetic. you're communicating on a human to human level, and your aim is to build trust. And you don't always get it right, but you can sometimes build trust when you get it wrong. You know how you do that? Coming up honest about it. Like, and innovation can come from that as well. Like when you make a mistake, like to me, I think that's one of the biggest failures is that I see with businesses is they just move forward and they get this false positive that their sales are occurring, but they're not understanding that they're getting zero retention, or the referrals they're getting very, very low or paid for. But if you can get natural, organic word of mouth marketing, as a result of the results that you're giving, you're transforming their lives in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's transforming because your lawn care service makes their lawns more magical, or you've changed their lives and you're a professional coach. Doesn't matter. When you get to that level, I believe the level of trust that you have is it works, and I'm going to share, and I'm going to compel people to share. And this whole new ecosystem. So when I say ecosystem, it's not as linear as typical marketing journeys are. I think it's going to be an ecosystem where it's like it's not just I'm on every channel and talking. That's omni system, right? Where you're totally connected. I think that's valuable. That's a super good system, by the way. But what I'm saying, ecosystem is more meeting people wherever they are and having content and connection as needed in the buying cycle to connect with them on a human-to-human level wherever you can possible. And I think that the businesses that drop the barrier and go quickly to human-to-human, I think are going to be in a win, especially right now. I think totally when this starts shifting and post-COVID happens, whenever that is. But I think that that's going to remain with us. I think that people are looking for human connection. And now more than ever, it's almost like we've accepted human to human connection on platforms like Zoom and so forth, where you can have that feeling of connection, but you didn't necessarily have to be in person. So I think that opens up some doors as well. It's going to be more challenging. And I think businesses that are really pushing for, let's just call it reconstructing the way that they're looking at business, I would look at this with optimism that I think there's some great that's going to come out of this for marketing. It's going to shake out the charlatans. I think that I don't think businesses right now, if you don't have results, you don't have a really congruent, thinking and philosophy and values and proof that you know how to do it. All these people that are fly by night, marketers, I feel sorry for you. I mean, maybe you're just starting out, but if you're one of those people that have never really dove in to really help solve customers' problems and you view them as a transaction, I think you're going to be in for a rough ride. And I think that they're going to fall away, because I think what has happened is it's so much marketing is risen to the level of sales has the sales role, we'll call it. It used to be the sales role was so one of the key roles in a business, and now the marketing role has just superseded that, because marketing, people want to they want to buy, or they want to shop, they don't want to be sold to, and so marketing has surpassed that. So with the rising need, and with social media being somewhat leveling the playing field, there's like so many people that call themselves marketers, but they're not really marketers. They just happen to know that system. That's not marketing, and that's not a marketing ecosystem. I think that the people that are going to succeed are these marketers. And if you're just someone who's just really well at Instagram, then this is your chance to really round out your skills. I think you need to look at your businesses that you're working with and round out your skills and start understanding the entire ecosystem that their customers engage in or could be engaging in, and look at different ways that you can fit it all together and making it sustainable. I think it's like one of the challenges I think that agencies have is they need reoccurring billing, but they're not really incentivized to create sustainable content, for example. It's in their DNA, their blood, it's in their requirements to keep coming up with new creative, which they should, because I think creative needs to stay fresh, but not to the point where it's not sustainable. And I think now with budgets collapsing and mentalities changing, those agencies are going to have a tough time. The marketers that are not building ecosystem, the agencies that are addicted to having the client look here, look there, let's change new content, we got to create a different campaign, they're going to have to think differently. I think that you're going to have a rise of I think agencies and marketers that work with entrepreneurs, or the entrepreneurs in source and they do that themselves, where they're looking at how can we think of marketing as a resource and content even as a resource. How can we reuse, repurpose quality content that's still meaningful, engages with our customers? And even content creation, I think, is going to go down because it's going to insert human being. And I think you're going to see a lot more face-to-face marketing. I wrote an article in Medium about it, which is, I think it's going to be a new category, which is right now it's Zoom, and it's sort of like social selling. But I don't think this is like the dial-up of the internet compared to streaming on your mobile device. I think we're at the earliest stages, and we can't even imagine what face-to-face marketing is going to look like. Like, it's just, you can't even get your head around how amazingly rich, brilliant, and impactful it's going to be. And this is where I think AI might play a role, is AI assisting human decision making and thinking, augmenting it, and providing a better level of human-to-human interaction and service. I think people are going to crave that more than ever. As much as AI and automation, I think for simple tasks and things, if it's quick and easy and they don't care about the interaction, sure. But when you think about how people are using automation today, it's the opposite of it. They're not empathetic. They're not building trust, because what you're doing is you phone in to say your phone company, and you phone the company, and what happens? You get put on hold. Press 1 for this, wait for that, and you just go through this like they go out of their way to make sure you don't talk to a human wherever possible. It's frustrating. That frustration is what's going to be the demise of that business. No different than any other business that's been disrupted. And I think that all businesses are being disrupted, and I think you want to think about this term. I'm calling it intimacy at scale. You need to be thinking about, in my mind, how that is going to be, you're able to help all your customer base on the most intimate human level, and using automation judiciously to serve them, and not blanket all your systems in set it, forget it. It's really looking at it with a real empathetic heart. And, even just the way you sell, it's like hard sell to heart sell. I think that is where we're going. Like I said, these two plates, audience attention and trust, it's going to come down to, I trust you if I know that your intention, your even if you're not going to get it right, you're going to make it right, and you trust systems that are even automated. Like, for example, Apple. When I went to buy the movie the other day, and Don Pepper's covered this in episode on trust, is, if I go to buy a movie twice, it goes, hey, you've already bought this. Are you sure? And I love that. They set up a system of automation that's actually empathetic, or in trying to help trust. They could very easily have made, several, maybe $100 on me, but they would have lost more trust. That, to me, is where stepping over pennies to pick up dollars, or no, stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. Let me say that again. Stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. And I think that is what businesses have been doing, because they've been allowed to, because the growth will happen naturally in a growth market. And when you think about when everything's growing, the roots aren't very deep. And when it rains, the first storm or drought comes by, it's because they don't have deep roots, because they've been so used to getting water, and they didn't have to make deep roots. They just so shallow, they can die quickly. I think that's what we're finding with COVID. And I think that's where we are right now, is that I want to be on this hunt and the search, and really find the businesses that have thrived and grown and had deep roots and purpose, and were able to grow even during and post COVID, and in a sustainable way, and find ways not to just go, here's what we did, something that can be repeatable, something that can be shared and communicated to other people, so that they can adopt that in their business and then basically start building their business in a sustainable way. And sustainable doesn't mean this growth slow, like, oh, it doesn't mean rapid growth. Not at all. I think that what people are missing the point when they hear that word, I think they think that, it's like sustainable energy is like a big pain. It's not. It's about being strategic. It's about being resourceful. It's about being congruent. That is sustainability. Like things that sustain through weathering any storm, it comes down to the brand and what you've delivered over time, your reputation. This is like old school marketing has come back, and it's, here we are. We're almost gone full circle. I mean, look at even people's homes. They're kind of reconnecting with their families, having more time for reflecting on what's important to them. I mean, how many innovations, changes, life changes that were either imposed or going to be created as a result of COVID. And I think that this reflection, they might call this the great reflection, is going to be one of the biggest changes in consumer behavior. And this season 2, I want to be a journey of exploring what that could be like, maybe even helping shape that to make it a more beautiful marketing world where businesses can really focus on helping humans become better, help this planet become more beautiful. How can we do that and still have compassionate commerce where we are successful, we are growing, we're growing healthy, but we're also growing responsibly. And businesses that I think connect on those levels are going to be honored with repeat business, and those transformed customers and people's lives are going to repeat business and share. And that word of mouth loop is what I'm calling Groundswell. And I think that I'll dedicate a whole episode, what is Groundswell marketing, when I release my book, which will be coming. But, this is meant to be sort of the season 2 kickoff. And I just want to, set the tone, sort of like my intention for what this is, and when I'm setting out to meet these guests, I'm kind of looking at this lens of this change, and I want to verify this. I want to validate this. I want to challenge it. I want to see if this is true. Is this real? Is this just maybe another recession, just another dip? But I don't believe so. I believe we've moved more towards meaningful and human. Those things that are more important to us is almost the opposite of what I thought maybe we were heading towards. I always thought those were advantages, but I thought it would take a lot longer for this to occur. And I think this just shaved off 10 years, what I thought would happen in 10 years from now, to be really honest with you. And I don't know. It hasn't happened yet. I mean, I feel like it's happening. We're in the middle of it. We're experiencing it. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the rise of helpful content, businesses that are helping each other, the human connections, the Zoom watch parties and cocktail hangouts and all these kind of fun things. It just shows that we crave human connection. We can leverage technology, and businesses don't necessarily need to interrupt us. If they help us, they support us, they help us keep safe, they build trust, then I believe that those are the businesses that are going to be getting our business. And I think about the businesses that took there's really two, I called it 2 buckets. It was my first episode. I do this whole series on Anchor. Maybe I'll put it on iTunes. It's called Rip Currents. And it's like a daily briefing where I just kind of like ramble. And it's like under 15 minutes. And I just talk about a single topic. And I do that because I just want to get better at speaking and just really challenging myself to get more content out there. And my first episode was waiting or creating. And that's what I feel like people are in businesses. It's like, are you waiting to see what's going to happen? And then I'm going to suddenly have all this information and I'm going to make a strategy. Or are you creating? And I believe that the people that are creating are the ones that are going to have not only the advantage, but the insight, because I don't think it's going to be revealed in terms of what exactly is going to work until you're really testing. And I think that this testing and creating is going to move away from next practices for individual businesses as opposed to best practices by the majority of businesses. I think that we've been running and operating with this industry. This is the best practice. When you do this and do that and post at this time or whatever it is. A lot of them are true and they're repeatable. And some of it was not good because you're basically telling them not to be resourceful and adapt and test and find their own way. And in yet another case, some of them are like principles. They're marketing principles that will stand the test of time, and there's something completely irrelevant. They are no longer apply to this new world. And navigating those four pieces is, I think, one other aspect of of what I want to cover. So when I think about waiting or creating, are you creating your future? Are you waiting for it to happen? And I think there's this three waves. The first wave is shock and awe. And I think we've just, it's April 25th today. And I think the shock and awe is still just here, but it's like we've shifted. We're in this like moment where it's now, this is the new norm, midterm. It's like the temporary zone. We're in purgatory in between two worlds, waiting to see what's going to happen, or creating until the new appears and happens, and we get a better sense of things. This middle stage is where I feel like this is a perfect time to start creating and exploring and start talking, so that possibly this could be a year out, and season 3 could be us moving into the new reality. So this second season is really dedicated to this, this process, this journey that we're all in across the world. I mean, when have we ever had a situation where everybody around the world is at the same situation going at the same time? I don't think it's ever happened. I mean, sure, there's been plagues and more stuff, but it hasn't affected everybody the same way. This universally has, and it's brought us together. And I think that this group think that has happened is potentially buckling under a different consciousness, where I think that what's going to come out of this, there's going to be some really things that are going to be exposed or challenged and changed that's going to break up the group thing. This is what I believe, and really get businesses and individuals to think more individually. And that kind of flies in the face of, scaling if you're a supplier, because you want to have repeatable processes. And I think repeatable principles and there will be some strategies that are going to be repeatable, but in this new world, this new reality, for sure. But I think that more than ever, I think businesses are going to crave, just like individuals are craving to be treated like a human. I think businesses want to be individually, have their strategy, their thinking, their marketing, their business uniquely developed for them, built on a foundation of principles that are and leveraging the strategies of the time or the situation or the channel, but utilizing their resources, their situation, their unique attributes, and their vision, their purpose, and their outcomes, and shaping it. And I think that's going to be a really exciting wave of either marketers that are really have to get more intimate, I think is the word, with businesses to really help them, and or the business themselves insource it, and they have someone who intimately owns this. And I think that is going to be a big part of the shift. And the reason why is I think about culture. Like there's one episode and even the second one I did with Michael Brenner talking about how culture is such an important aspect. He's changed the way that even I view the main components of business, which used to be just marketing and innovation. For me, it's marketing, innovation, and culture. And I'm separating culture from marketing, even though he's saying marketing is part of culture, and it is that by pulling it out, I believe that how we address culture, not just in marketing, but just overall, is going to be, and that's about your human to human, how humans are how they interact with your business is the new marketing. And so you almost have to have that as its own discipline in, creating empathy, trust, all the things that we just talked about in the last 35 minutes. It's like, to me, that is where I believe there's some really exciting headway in this new reality. And I'm excited to see it. So anyways, so that's kind of my little ramble. I mean, you guys don't get to hear me talk. I have no notes in front of me. I actually didn't even know what I was going to say. I just put the mic on and said, look, I'm going to kick off season 2. It is what it is. Let's just get raw, real. I'm going to be authentic. I might, a couple ums and ahs, and I got one where I was coughing, so that'll be edited out. Other than that, I'm not going to edit this thing much. I'm okay with that. I believe that, if you have something to say, you can't overproduce it. If you're overproducing it, it's, again, I think that is another level where people have a level of mistrust, because if people want to see the sort of the realness. Now, I get, missaid or mistakes or painful sounds. If you're recording a podcast, like, I don't know, whatever, like if it's screeching or something, I get rid of it. But I think at a core, I think we're going to see this rise of reality where it's more authentic. And not that you can be more authentic. It's like you can't. It's like, it's just authentic. And I think that's what people are craving, this human authentic interactions. And so I just pledge to you that I'm going to be as authentic and just really share with you what I'm really thinking. And I may get it wrong. I may have a viewpoint that later on I'll change. I'll just let you know. I mean, I'll say, hey, I changed my mind on this. I think that's part of building trust, is that knowing that you can make mistakes. And I think before, what's held me back, and maybe held some of us listening as experienced this, was, I've been doing this for 25 years. I know my work. I've done incredible stuff for clients, but yet I still, I don't know who's going to really listen to this, or what do I really have to say or offer? And what if I say something that's offside or not exactly accurate or said the way I want to say it? I wish I said it differently. I've stopped listening to my own podcast audio because I don't want to be overanalyzing. I'm like, it is what it is. And I hope that you guys enjoy season 2 as much as I'm already enjoying kicking it off. And I'm enjoying it from a different perspective. Before, it was season 1 was it was embarking on a new it was a new start for me, because I'd never done podcasting. But also, I alluded to it. I'd never really talked about it. Maybe, I did maybe in my opening session, but I spent the entire year traveling the world around with Tony Robbins, as in his mastermind group called Platinum Partners. And you get personal coaching, private events with Tony. You get his top coaches. You're networking with these. There's about 400 other executives, and they're all outstanding humans. I mean, just incredible level up experience. And on top of that, just the amount of training, book reading, and writing and content creation that I was doing last year. So I just grew so much. And it ended, actually, I finished my year with him at the end of January and started working on my magazine and season 2 of this podcast and my book in February. And then COVID hit, and here we are. And I'm really excited about this season from just a different aspect. I think that was super energized. And this one's a little bit more, I guess, I think, one reflective of what we can learn from the past and how to help you navigate this new reality. I think that is maybe that's what I'm super curious about. It's the itch that I want to scratch. I hope that you want to listen along and experience that with me, because that's what I'm hoping to do, is to create a podcast that's meaningful, one that you just connect to. It's like anybody that wants to tell me how they think about it, if they want to share their thoughts, and maybe I even, if you don't want to use the recording, just maybe mention your recording. But on groundswell.fm, I've got a little hit the mark and a button and leave an audio. Leave me an audio. Tell me what you think. I really would love your feedback. It's so meaningful to me. And I so appreciate all the reviews and emails I've gotten and the feedback. It's been so energizing. You have no idea how much that makes me want to work harder to get you more content. So I thank you all so much. So I think I'm going to wrap around I didn't bring a glass of water and my mouth's getting dry. So, you're going to see some more solo episodes from me under different topics, but I thought this would just be the kicking off the season 2 rant. Maybe I should call this or something. But, hey, thank you again for listening. Until next time, mahalo.